Is Jesus Michael the Archangel? Jehovah Witnesses seem to think so, and we would disagree as evangelical Christians, and we would disagree because you cannot keep the Bible intact without contradictions if you try to say that Jesus is an angel, because there is a whole chapter plus some in the Bible dedicated to saying that Jesus is not an angel. And that is what we find in Hebrews 1 and a little bit, well, actually, you could probably say Hebrews 1 and 2 altogether talk about making the point that Jesus is the creator and angels are the created ones. Jesus is the one whom the angels serve, and he is separate from the angels. So before we go to that, I just want to give you a little bit of introduction to our ministry here. We are with Redemption Bible Church in Casa Grande, Arizona. And our YouTube channel, we're going to be uploading we have like little sermon snippets like that. We're going to be uploading podcasts with special guests. We got some big name guests that are coming. This right now is a special section devoted just to Jehovah Witnesses that we will continue to upload. We will have special guests coming, people who are experts. Nat Erickson, who is a PhD student at Southern Seminary, as somebody who is really, really good at explaining Bible translation. So we'll have him in on issues pertaining to translation. We've got these 10-minute messages. These are from our seminary students at our church. So we have seminary students who are training for ministry and hopefully one day to eventually take over the reins of Redemption Bible Church and to send me to plant another church. That's actually something I would like to do. So that's something I consider to be a ministry of mine. But why don't we dive into the issue? Is Jesus Michael the Archangel? No. Okay, I can't just say that. I got to give you proof. And in Hebrews 1, which is Hebrews 1 and 2, which is a passage you really, really need to understand if you're going to talk with a Jehovah's Witness, this is the passage you need to take them to. So let's read this together, and we'll make comments as we go. So it says, long ago and at many times and in many ways, God spoke to our fathers by the prophets. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he also created the world. Stop there. If Jesus is the creator, then he's not an angel. Angels are created. Jesus is the creator. Jesus is God. Now, Jehovah Witnesses will jump in and say, whoa, well, he created all other things but himself. Bible doesn't say that. John 1:3 says that apart from Jesus, not even one thing was made that has been made. So of all the things that are created, just look up John 1:3. Actually, we'll look it up together. Let's go to John 1:3 together. So of all the things that were created, not one of them could exist without Jesus. So look at this. Let's highlight this. So it says, all things were made through him, and without him was not anything, or the Greek says, udehen, not even one thing was made that was made. So of all the created things, none of them could exist apart from Christ, which means Jesus is outside of the created order. And that's exactly the point that Hebrews, I'm not even showing you the Bible here. I'm sorry. So John 1:3 here, it says, without him was not anything made that has been made. So Jesus is outside of the created order, which means he's God. Plain and simple. So let's go back to Hebrews. So Hebrews starts out exactly as John starts out, stating that Jesus is God the creator. He isn't the first of God's creation, and we're going to do a whole podcast on Colossians 1 where Jehovah Witnesses try to say that Jesus is the first of God's creation. We can address that. That is very easy to address. But nowhere are the words used that he created all other things except for himself. He is not part of creation. And then it says this. It says, he is the radiance, of the glory of God and the imprint of his nature. He upholds the universe by the word of his power. So who sustains the world? Does God or Jesus? Yes, because Jesus is God. God upholds the world. Jesus upholds the world. That means Jesus is God. So the writer of Hebrews is trying to share with you that Jesus is so superior to the angels before he even starts talking about the angels. And there have been people back in the day, back in the time when Hebrews was written, there were people who worshiped angels, who thought angels were instruments that God used for creation. And Paul warned people against worshiping angels, and the author of Hebrews is also doing the same thing, warning people not to put angels at too high of a status, but to remember that Jesus is above them. Jesus is the creator of the angels. And then we're going to get into, as we keep reading, how he contrasts angels with Jesus. And the point is, Jesus is not an angel, not an angel. So let's keep reading. After making a purification for sins, Jesus we're talking about, he sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high, having become as much superior to the angels as the name he has inherited is more excellent than theirs. Okay, that's the first contrast we have come against. And Jesus is superior to the angels. So he is other than the angels, and he is superior to the angels. And keep reading, the contrast gets stronger and stronger. And so here's a question. So this is a rhetorical question, and the answer is obviously implied when it comes to a rhetorical question. Greeks use rhetorical questions like we did, and many times they provided the answer to their question at the beginning of the sentence. So it says, to which of the angels did God ever say, you are my son, today I have begotten you? Or again, I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. So when a question is asked like that, what do you think the answer is? To which of the angels did he ever say? The implication is he's not an angel, because the question is, which of the angels have ever been told this, have ever been called that? None of them have. And that's the point that the author of Hebrews is making, that the Son is not an angel. And keep reading. And it says, and again, when he brings the firstborn, Jesus, into the world, and we'll get into, actually, maybe we'll get into it in this podcast here, what we mean by firstborn. Maybe if I can remember, I'll put a pin in this and we'll talk about this in this podcast. So, and again, when he brings the firstborn into the world, he says, let all God's angels worship him. Now, there's going to be a difference between our translation and Jehovah Witnesses, because Jehovah Witnesses will say, let all God's angels do obeisance to him, which is, well, let's find it here. Right there. And let all of God's angels do obeisance to him. Well, I didn't even show that. Here we go. There it is. Sorry. So here we have, and let all God's angels do obeisance to him. So that's Jehovah Witnesses trying to get around the fact that Jesus is God by retranslating the word for worship back to our here. But it's saying, okay, wait. Even if the word isn't worship, the point remains that the author of Hebrews, even just using the New World Translation, the Jehovah's Witness own translation, it's still making the point he's not an angel, because the angels are supposed to do obeisance to him. So he's not an angel because it's being contrasted that way. But our translation says, let all God's angels worship him, because that's a fairly consistent use of that word. And then it says, but of the angels. So he's making this contrast. Of the angels, he says, he makes his angels winds and his ministers a flame of fire. So who are his? Who's the his? His is Jesus. It's his angels And I have a feeling that if you look up that passage, the his in that Old Testament reference is going to be God. But here, the author of Hebrews is saying these angels are Christ's angels. And if you go to the Old Testament reference, why don't we do that? Let's find out where that is. Oh, no. What's the reference? Hang on. We'll find it. Okay, one second. Ready? It's a reference to God. Oh, Lord, my God, you are very great. And then talks about he lays out the beams of his chambers in the water. So this in Psalms 104 is a reference to God. And in Hebrews, whose angels are they? They are of the angels. He says he makes his angels up here, winds, and his ministers flames of fire. And then notice this. But of the Son, he says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. All right. I know what the Jehovah Witnesses are going to say. They're going to go, the translation isn't your throne, O God. The translation should be your throne is God. Well, let's go to the Greek here. Okay. So your throne, they say your throne is God. Let's go to here we go. This is their translation. But about the Son, he says, God is your throne. Well, first of all, God is underneath Jesus. Jesus sitting on Jesus as on God. If Jesus is just Michael the Archangel and he's sitting on God as the throne, it doesn't set the right imagery. Something should not feel right about that. That God is the throne upon which an angel sits. That's just not how the Old Testament speaks of God. But God is enthroned. God is upon high. And the earth is his footstool. And that's the language we get about God. But let me just go into this. Should we translate this as God is your throne? So this is their translation. So they have God is your throne forever and ever. Let's go to the Greek. Ready? I want to introduce you to the concept of a nominative of direct address. What does it mean? So if I'm directly talking to you, I'll say, hey, Bob. And there's two ways the Greek can refer to somebody directly. It can either use what's called the vocative case, or it can use the nominative case, nominative meaning the naming case, the case that names something or someone. And you can use this in direct address. The throne of you, O God, Hatheos, is forever and ever. So that's, I don't know, maybe is my mouse coming through here? Okay. The throne of you, O God, is forever and ever. I wonder if there's another place where Hatheos is found, where it's translated as O God, or where God's being referenced, where Jehovah Witnesses also translated as a vocative, as a direct address. I wonder. Oh, yeah, there is. Hebrews 10:7. So it's like, then he said, behold, I have come. And then there's this little paraphrastic statement in the scroll of the book, which had been written concerning me, which I came to do. Hatheos. Notice. Hatheos. Which he came to do, O God, the will of you, your will. I wonder how Hatheos is translated there by Jehovah Witnesses. Is that 7:7? Hebrews 10, verse 7. Notice how Jehovah Witnesses translated themselves, okay? Should say translate it. Okay, here we go. Having some problems. There we go. All right, here we go. Then I said, look, I have come. In the scroll it is written about me to do your will, O God. Very interesting. Jehovah Witnesses translate O God, hatheos, as O God. But when it comes to Hebrews 1:8, they don't translate it that way. They translate it as, but about the Son, he says, God is your throne. But if you notice, it's the same construct. To whom is he talking? Who is the you he is talking to? The you is hatheos. Sorry, hatheos. Who's the you? Hatheos. In fact, it looks like it's probably here too. Verse 9. Not same construct. But this is a nominative of direct address. And I got a question. I just wonder how the ancient Greek ante-Nicene church fathers would have translated this verse. I wonder if they would have just thought the translation was, "Oh God," as well. Well, I happen to have proof that they did. Let's go. This is Chrysostom in his homilies, and I want you to see the use that he makes of it. But first, look at how he translates this. This is Chrysostom, I think, is 300 AD. And look at how he translates this. And he says, and of his angels, he said, which maketh his angel spirits, this is an old translation of his, and his ministers a flame of fire. But unto the Son, he says this, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Now, before I keep reading, I want you to know the conclusion that Chrysostom, or Chrysostom, or however you want to pronounce his name, I want you to notice the conclusion he makes from this verse. The conclusion he makes is, behold the greatest difference between angels and Christ, that they, the angels, are created, but he is uncreated. Oh, it looks like Chrysostom understood that this was a direct address, that Jesus is being called God, and therefore the creator, and therefore the angels are the created, and he's their creator. Very, very interesting. Notice how somebody who spoke Koine Greek translated it, and the understanding they got from that. Because if the translation is what Jehovah Witnesses say, Chrysostom would not have been able to use that verse to support the point he's making. But he's writing to people who understood Koine Greek, and he's saying, look, this is what it says, and therefore this is the conclusion of the matter. And they would have been able to read it themselves and gone, oh yeah, Jesus is being called God. All right, well, let's keep reading. I find that kind of interesting. So the correct translation here, but of the Son, he says, your throne, O God, hatheos. Remember, hatheos also got translated as O God. In another place, Jehovah Witnesses are conveniently inconsistent with their translations whenever it suits their theology. So as we keep reading, so it says, of the Son, it's saying, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. You've loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you. So you got God the Father in there. This is all perfectly consistent with Trinitarian logic. And also the Son being the Son of God, a man worshiping God as a man. And then it says this, of the Son, it says, you, Lord, laid the foundations of the earth at the beginning of the heavens of the work of your hands. Well, let's find out. This is being used in reference to the Son. So it's saying here, okay, it's saying that verse there is about Jesus. It was spoken about Jesus. I bet if we look in the Old Testament, we will find that it was referenced to God himself. But Hebrews is saying it's in reference to Jesus that it was said. So let's just go look at that quick. So if you look, it says, "Oh my God, I say, take me not away in the midst of my enemies, but you whose years endure throughout all generations, of old you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment, and you will change them like a robe, but they will pass away." So look, it's saying here that was what was spoken about Jesus. And in the Old Testament, it clearly is spoken about God. So what does it mean? How can it be both about Jesus and be about God at the same time? Anybody prefer to use some Aristotelian logic with me? The answer is Jesus is God. That's the only way that it works. And that's perfectly consistent with this passage. He created the world. He's above the angels. He created the angels. He has all God's angels worship him. He's called God. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. And each of these passages that are said to be about Jesus in the Old Testament are said to be about God. And the only way you can have that work out is if Jesus is God himself. So back to this passage again. Verse 13. So it says, "And to which of the angels has he ever said?" Again, rhetorical question. The answer is obviously none of the angels have ever heard this. Jesus is not an angel. "So sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." Now, the big kicker comes in Hebrews chapter 2, when it clearly says it is not to angels that we're talking about. If angels were the heirs of the world and the ones who are to rule over the world, then this verse would not be said. So let's just keep going, okay? So Hebrews 2, verse 5, it says, "For it is not to angels that God subjected the world." And now keep reading. "See to whom the world is subjected." And it says it's not to angels, but it is to Jesus himself. And he says, so it is not to angels that God subjected the world to come, of which we are speaking. It has been testified elsewhere. What is man that you were mindful of him, or the son of man that you take care of him? You made him for a little while lower than the angels and have crowned him with glory and honor. And as you keep reading, you'll find out that this verse is being attributed to Jesus. See this? It says, "Now in putting everything in subjection to him," singular, Jesus, "he left nothing outside of his control. At present, we do not yet see everything in subjection to him," who's the him, "but we see him who for a little while was made lower than the angels, namely Jesus, crowned with glory and honor." So not to angels, but Jesus. I should highlight that. Let's do that. So what does it mean? It means Jesus is God. Jesus is not an angel. Jesus is not created, but the creator. And I said, if I could remember it, we were going to put a pin into this whole firstborn, because this hangs up a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, firstborn. We also have it in Colossians. Okay. So it says of Jesus, he is the firstborn of all creation. So when I ask you, does that mean Jesus was the first of God's creation? Well, it can't be, because John 1:3 says all of the created things were made by him, and none of the created things could exist apart from him. So he's God. John 5:18, he's equal to God. In John 20, I think it's 28, Thomas says, "Hakurios mu kai hotheos mu," the Lord of me and the God of me. Hebrews 1:3 is saying Jesus made everything. He's not an angel. And all the passages that are attributed to Christ are said to be attributed to God in the Old Testament. So this is very consistent with Trinitarian theology. So how is it that firstborn here can be used? Oh, I see that they have Psalm 89. That's where we were going to go next. So let's go to Psalm 89. And I think it's verse 27. Yeah. So, okay. I want you to think a few things about me, or a few things with me here. Okay, not about me. Oh my goodness. I'm getting tired. I want you to think with me, okay? Is this statement future tense, past tense, current tense? Let's read this, okay? All right. So it's saying, he shall cry to me, you are my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation, and I will make him, future tense, the firstborn, the highest of the kings of the earth. Now, it's interesting that this also refers to David. So David is being called, he's being told he will be the firstborn among the kings. Let's go up here. So see, I have found David, my servant. So this is talking about David. And David will, future tense, be made into the firstborn of kings. So what could firstborn mean for David? Was David the first king of Israel? No. Was he the first king that ever existed? No. Was he the firstborn of his family? No. Then what does it mean that he's the firstborn among the kings? It's a title of supremacy. And in fact, we know that all these things that are spoken about David are also true about Christ. He is the ultimate King David. He is the one who will sit on the throne of David. He is the promised seed of David. And so it's spoken to in future tense. He will be, future tense, made into the firstborn, the highest of the kings of the earth. So firstborn is a title of firstness, of supremacy, of preeminence. So Jesus is the firstborn, like David was promised to be preeminent among the kings. Because when it came to the transfer of the throne, who got the throne after their parents? The firstborn son did, in the lineage of kings. So firstborn, to be treated like a firstborn, is preeminent. So when we're talking about, we'll go back to Hebrews 1, and all of a sudden you have this, he brings the firstborn into the world. And then it says, let all God's angels worship him. And then it attributes this to Jesus, his angels. But the Old Testament says that's about God. And then it says of the Son, it says, your throne, O God. Wait a moment. Jesus is God? And remember, this is in Greek right here, this O God. That form, was it verse 7? Nope. Verse 7 here, hatheos, which is the same thing as hatheos here, is translated as "O God" by Jehovah Witnesses elsewhere. So which is it? How do you translate it when it's in that context? Jehovah Witnesses are conveniently inconsistent when it suits them. I have a feeling that they really don't know Greek over there. So here's my point. Is Jesus Michael the Archangel? Of course not. It is not to angels that the world has been subjected. He owns the angels. He made the angels. He is God himself. And all the verses that are attributed to being about Christ in Hebrews are said to be about God in the Old Testament. So Jesus is not an angel. He's God himself, the creator in the flesh. And he becomes the firstborn among kings as a man. And the title simply means that he has preeminence over all the kings. That's why he's called King of Kings and Lord of Lords.